Welcome to part 2 of the Matrix and the U.S. Constitution. This part will be the protocols, the education system, and slavery. I bid you Godspeed on your journey to mind expansion. As I said previously, this video is not for everybody. The majority are satisfied with their bread and circuses, and so be it. I enjoy comedy as much as the next person. It is probably one of my favorite genres. I love to laugh. I love a good joke. However, there are issues that must be seen for what they truly are. It is time to have the scales taken off of your eyes, the moment of revelation, so to speak. So, for all of you who truly want to know the basis of this country, the systems that are put in place, who they're put in place for, if you ever had somebody in the penal system, prison, jail, whatever it is, had to go to court, pay taxes, all these different things, you will get all that and more.
Protocol number 1. Putting aside fine phrases, we shall speak of the significance of each thought. By comparisons and deductions, we shall throw light upon surrounding facts. What I'm about to set forth, then, in our system from the 2 points of view, that of ourselves and that of the Goyim, in other words, non-Jews. It must be noted that men with bad instincts are more in number than the good, and therefore the best results in governing them are attained by violence and terrorization, and not by academic discussions. Each man aims at power. Everyone would like to become a dictator if only he could, and rare indeed are the men who would not be willing to sacrifice the welfare of all for the sake of securing their own welfare. What has restrained the beasts of prey who are called men? What has served for their guidance hitherto? In the beginnings of the structure of society, they were subjected to brutal and blind force, afterwards to law, which is the same force, only disguised. I draw the conclusion that by the law of nature, right lies in force. Political freedom is an idea, but not a fact. This idea one must know how to apply whenever it appears necessary with this bait of an idea to attract the masses of the people to one's party for the purpose of crushing another who is in authority. This task is rendered easier if the opponent has himself been infected with the idea of freedom, so-called liberalism, and, for the sake of an idea, is willing to yield some of his power. It is precisely here that the triumph of our theory appears. The slackened reins of government are immediately, by the law of life, caught up and gathered together by a new hand, because the blind might of the nation cannot for one single day exist without guidance, and the new authority merely fits into the place of the old, already weakened by liberalism. Protocol number 17. The practice of advocacy produces men cold, cruel, persistent, unprincipled, when all cases take up an impersonal, purely legal standpoint. They have the inveterate habit to refer everything to its value for the defense, and not to the public welfare of its results. They do not usually decline to undertake any defense whatever. They strive for an acquittal at all costs, cavilling over every petty crux of jurisprudence, and thereby they demoralize justice. For this reason, we shall set this profession into narrow frames which will keep it inside the sphere of executive public service. Advocates, equally with judges, will be deprived of the right of communication with litigant. They will receive business only from the court and will study it by notes of report and documents, defending their clients after they have been interrogated in court on facts that have appeared. They will receive an honorarium without regard to the quality of the defense. This will render them mere reporters on law business in the interest of justice, and as counterpoise to the proctor, who will be the reporter in the interest of prosecution. This will shorten business before the courts. In this way will be established a practice of honest, unprejudiced defense, conducted not for personal interest, but by conviction. This will also, by the way, remove the present practice of corrupt bargain between avocation to agree only to let the side win which pays the most. Now, I don't know if all of you understood that or not, what this was exactly talking about. But anyone who says this is a fake document, obviously they haven't read it, or they don't want you to read it, because when I go through this document, I plan on actually doing a video on this particular document as well. Everything in it is happening. This is how they're setting up the court system. Honorarium is payment. An advocate is a public, is a defense attorney. A proctor is a prosecutor, and so forth. And it's telling they're going to get paid regardless of the defense they give. And don't you see that happening with your public defenders? They're not doing anything. Go around the country and check and see. See if anyone is being properly defended in court. Ineffective assistance of counsel is like the number one thing guys try to get back in court for. So right here, you can see a lot of these things coming into fruition. If you read this document, this is their blueprint. This document was in Behold a Pale Horse, along with some other documents too that were very interesting. Silent Weapons Required Wars, a lot of documents. You should take the time to read this and see for yourself whether this is some fake document or not. Such people are beasts of burden and stakes on the table by choice and consent. Consequently, in the interest of future world order, peace, and tranquility, it was decided to privately wage a quiet war against the American public with an ultimate objective of permanently shifting the natural and social energy, wealth, of the undisciplined and irresponsible many into the hands of the self-disciplined, responsible, and worthy few. In order to implement this objective, it was necessary to create, secure, and apply new weapons, which, as it turned out, were a class of weapons so subtle and sophisticated in their principle of operation and public appearance as to earn for themselves the name silent weapons. In conclusion, the objective of economic research, as conducted by the magnates of capital, banking, and the industries of commodities, goods, and services, is the establishment of an economy which is totally predictable and manipulative. In order to achieve a totally predictable economy, the lower class elements of society must be brought under total control. In other words, must be housebroken, trained, and assigned a yoke and long-term social duties from a very early age, before they have an opportunity to question the propriety of the matter. In order to achieve such conformity, the lower class family unit must be disintegrated by a process of increasing preoccupation of the parents and the establishment of government-operated daycare centers for the occupationally orphaned children. The quality of education given to the lower class must be of the poorest sort, so that the moat of ignorance isolating the inferior class from the superior class is and remains incomprehensible to the inferior class.
This is Luke Radowski of WeAreChange.org, and I am here with Charlotte Isby, who's an American whistleblower who worked for the U.S. Department of Education. Now, Charlotte, can you tell us specifically what was your position and what did you uncover in the U.S. Department of Education?
Well, my position was very, very important, although I did not have the credentials for it. The hand of God put me into the Office of Educational Research and Improvement as Senior Policy Advisor.
And what year was this?
In 1981.
So this was Reagan?
Under Reagan. Now, I just happened to get plopped into that slot that ordinarily in the past would have been held by the former president of Harvard or Stanford or Columbia, whatever. And so I had access to all the old plans and the new, all of which were geared towards limited learning for lifelong labor, basically, which is what we're looking at today through school choice, tax-funded school choice. That's putting it in a nutshell. It's been the plan ever since the late 1890s.
So it's deliberately lowering the educational system so we would have a dumbed-down public. Why would they do this?
Well,
what's your rationale for this?
Well, because they want workers. They want worker bees. They don't want intelligent people, who will, if you know what's going on, you might want to do something about it. Yeah. They don't want individualists. They want collectivists. They want people that can be dictated to, moved around on the slavery, basically. Slavery, basically. Slavery, basically.
With such an initial handicap, even bright lower-class individuals have little, if any, hope of extricating themselves from their assigned lot in life. This form of slavery is essential to maintaining some measure of social order, peace, and tranquility for the ruling upper class. The people in charge of the Matrix represent the most powerful and intelligent humans on Earth. When gifted children appear in the public schools of the world, they are courted with scholarships, money, and eventually memberships into secret societies. They'll be introduced to very persuasive intellectuals who will convince these young gifted people that it is their place and duty to be a part of the elite who rule the world's population because the rest of the world's population are too stupid to make decisions for themselves. Their comment, not mine. When the New World Order is officially and openly in control, only the extremely intelligent will be allowed to propagate. Everyone else will be sterilized or murdered through staged pandemics used to eliminate excessive populations. Every foreign revolution, the world wars, the Depression, Prohibition, Korea, Vietnam, the Middle East conflict, and the influenza epidemic during World War I was planned and orchestrated by these people. Many early writers researched much of this history and were forced to fund their own publication and the distribution of their work. Most never received the acclaim they deserved and never knew our government was responsible for their failures. I'm prepared to supply anyone interested with mounds of research in support of what I have written herein. When I conveyed parts of this information in court documents, the opposition's lawyer responds to their client that I'm just crazy, and if the judge is within earshot of that comment, he will nod his head in judicial agreement. Well, I guess that caps it. If a lawyer and a lawyer judge both contend that I am crazy, then I must be crazy. They wouldn't lie to you, or would they? The motive of our founding fathers was totally self-centered. It was their personal greed that inspired them to accept the task of writing the Constitution of the United States and not patriotism. In actuality, the United States is not a land or a place. It is a corporation and a legal fiction that existed well before the Revolutionary War. The Constitution of the United States was written in secret by the Founding Fathers and was never presented to the colonists for a vote. Surely, any document as important as this demanded the approval of the people it governed. Well, it wasn't presented for a vote because the Constitution wasn't created for we the people. It was created by and for the Founding Fathers, their family heirs, and their posterity. The Constitution is a business plan, and any reference contained within it that appears to be the safeguard of a right is there because none of the Founding Fathers trusted each other. The safeguards were intended to prevent any one or group of them from cutting out the others, proving that there's no honor among thieves. Americans are not unlike all other humans who inhabit the earth. All human beings possess malleable minds, which are minds that can be shaped and controlled. And when government shapes and controls a mind, it's called brainwashing. Brainwashing causes the subject to become functionally illiterate. In America, our functional ignorance excels in the areas of history, government, and law, which really are one and the same. 98% of the officials in public office are lawyers, and these so-called representatives set policy and create the laws that govern this society. Their use of Greek and Latin terms in law and the habit of changing definitions and usage of common words is intentional. The intent is to confound and confuse the general public and to hide the treason they are implementing, and so that the members of the public are forced or decide to hire a lawyer out of frustration rather than try to represent themselves in our fictional courts of law. As you read on, I'll explain to you why and how our courts and laws are fictional.
A society of functional illiterates. Now, can you not look around and see that to be accurate? If the language of this reading went over your head, then you have to go on the assumption that what he's saying is correct. It didn't go over mine, fortunately, which is why I'm here to present it to you. Everything that he's talking about is happening in real time. If you just pay attention to what's going on, you have people on the right who are like, okay, the Republicans, they're the guys, they have to be the guys. You have people on the left who are like, no, the Democrats are the guys, they're the right guys. And then you have people like me that are like, well, there's an issue with the system that neither side is bringing up. So are they really for the masses of people? Are they really speaking for us if there are things that have not been uncovered and they don't bring to the forefront? this is what you're going to find out as you keep on with this set of documents and this sort of series that I'm making right now. The more you find things out, the more it's going to put you in a space where, like, okay, so basically everybody's lying. And if they're not, then they're ignorant, and then they actually don't belong in these political spots that they're vying for. Because if you don't know this information, there's no way you should be running for public office. Absolutely no way. It would have to be a person that is well versed in these things to actually be able to hold public office and do what is in the best interest of the masses. But that is not what the rulers want. They want people that have been through the educational system to be used as worker bees, placed in this job, do your job, don't ask any questions, get your paycheck, and that's it. But ask yourself, is that really life? As I said, I enjoy a good joke as much as the next person, but there's more. And they're hiding it. And I don't really like that. Stay tuned for more.